Sir Jim Ratcliffe has officially grabbed a 25% minority stake and joined the board alongside the Glazers at Manchester United. Fans were gunning for a complete sale, hoping the Qatari sheikh would swoop in as the saviour. Now that the deal's sealed and INEOS owns a chunk, let's see if this move will actually work out. Ever since the great Sir Alex Ferguson retired, football hasn't been kind to Manchester United fans. But as many different managers have come by and many players were replaced, the issue still remained. The fans started protesting more and more against the ownership. However, since they took over, they haven't invested a penny into the club and at the same time put the club in massive debt, racking up rates. Football is a very complicated sport, especially at the top, so I'm sure they, INEOS, will contribute, said Erik ten Hag. He praised Sir Jim Ratcliffe for gaining control of Manchester United through his 25% purchase, expressing optimism about achieving high ambitions. However, not everyone is sold on the idea. A club executive speaking privately questioned whether Ratcliffe's involvement would be a brilliant move or a disastrous decision leading to regrettable consequences. Looking beyond the excitement of the Glazer siblings' ownership dropping to 49%, with Ratcliffe now the top individual shareholder, the future seems uncertain. The club suddenly has 7 leaders and 2 power centres, raising concerns about potential clashes for dominance. On one side, there's Ratcliffe, along with his key associates Sir David Brailsford, INEOS Director of Sport, and Jean-Claude Blanc, INEOS Sport CEO, who are set to join the football board once the Premier League approves the deal in at least 6 weeks. The stage is set, but the outcome remains unpredictable. On the other side, you've got the American crew led by Joel Glazer, who's pretty much the big boss of their joint ownership, running United day-to-day from his Florida base. Sure, Ratcliffe might be in charge of football operations, but how clear are the lines between that and the business side of things? Let's say the manager wants £100 million for a hotshot central midfielder. What's the point of Ratcliffe giving the green light if the Glazers can just veto it? The winter transfer window is about halfway done, but even though Ratcliffe was officially put in charge of the footballing side, the deal terms say no transfers can happen without checking in with INEOS. Ten Hag is eyeing reinforcements for his up-and-down team, and with major deals being notoriously tricky in January, the last thing needed is another, as he put it, complication. In the realm of top-tier positions, Ratcliffe aims to swap out John Murtagh as United's football director for Dan Ashworth from Newcastle. But can Ratcliffe just make this call on his own, or do the Glazers also need to give it the thumbs up? The CEO spot is up for grabs too, and while Blanc is Ratcliffe's top pick, the decision falls under the PLC board. Ratcliffe might have 2 of his folks on board, John Rees and Rob Nevin, but will the Glazers be cool with having a Ratcliffe-backed executive calling the shots? Now, here's where it gets tricky. The drag-along clause adds another layer of complexity. After 18 months of Ratcliffe's purchase, the Glazers can force the 71-year-old to join any complete sell-off of their shares. Ratcliffe then has a year to strike a deal to be the buyer. But if the Americans turn down his offer, they can sell to someone else and he's out. Ratcliffe still needs the Glazers in terms of the nitty-gritty of who really controls United, potentially sidelining his grip on football operations. Amid all this, Ratcliffe and his crew face a big challenge. Can they really steer United towards the massive success the massive fan base craves? Ten Hag was asked this question, leading to his remark about complications. His full response was, "In other clubs, they have experience. In other sports, they have a lot of experience. A lot about performance, a lot of knowledge. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they can contribute. And I'm sure they can. Football is a very complicated sport, especially at the top, so I'm sure they will contribute. They will help us to achieve our high ambitions." INEOS Sport's track record in football is a bit hit and miss. Their first venture was buying Lausanne Sport in 2017, and since then the Swiss club has had its ups and downs, relegation, promotion, and currently a struggle in the Swiss Super League. Then came the acquisition of Nice in 2019, a club with a storied past but recent mediocrity. Nice finished 5th, 9th, 5th and 9th in consecutive seasons, currently sitting in 2nd place. Beyond football, INEOS Sport joined the Mercedes F1 team in 2020. They clinched the championship that season, but have slipped to 2nd and 3rd place in the past 2 years after a streak of 8 victories. In cycling, INEOS Grenadiers, formerly Team Sky, was taken over in 2019, and they've only secured 1 Tour de France win with Egan Bernal after a dominant 6 out of 7 wins in the years prior. So what about the Ratcliffe United era? Is it a fresh start, or just another stumble for a troubled club that's been all over the place? On Boxing Day at Old Trafford, Ten Hag's team was 2-0 down to Aston Villa, and Ratcliffe might have questioned his decision. However, a second-half comeback with 2 goals from Alejandro Garnacho and Rasmus Højlund's stunning 82nd-minute winner made everything look much better. That's how football's quick satisfaction culture operates. But as time unfolds, we'll see if there are any lasting improvements for United. But will the fans be satisfied with this, as they wanted a full sale only? And will the Glazers eventually leave? That's the burning question, with Sir Jim Ratcliffe snagging a £1.3 billion 25% stake in the club. The answer might play out over years. For now, it's all about putting the brakes on the sell everything now demand from fans who've been pushing for it since the Glazers started exploring options over a year ago. But let's get real. Was a full-on sale ever in the cards? That depends on how much you believed in Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani. When the Qatari billionaire backed out in October, we got a peek into his grand plans for the club. Plans that turned into more of a what you could have won scenario, filled with complaints about a crazy valuation. In the end, Ratcliffe came out on top. Now, insiders are saying that Ratcliffe taking a minority stake is just step one. The final price tag will depend on how well this partnership works out in the years to come, inching him towards overall control. Sure, some United fans won't forgive Ratcliffe for teaming up with the Glazers, but let's be practical. How else was a deal supposed to happen? Ratcliffe is known in the business world as a go-getter, a determined and innovative negotiator. A minority share can hold some serious sway, as United fans remember from the club's PLC days when Cubic Expression and the Glazers made major waves. Ratcliffe won't be a fairy godmother, showering limitless generosity like Sheikh Mansour or Roman Abramovich. United used to manage their own business just fine until economic headwinds, high inflation, and rising interest rates started pushing debt levels close to £1 billion. What Ed Woodward once likened to selling diamonds didn't require state-backed ownership, now facing tighter financial scrutiny than when Newcastle's Saudi consortium came into play or during Manchester City's spending spree. Qatar's pullback at PSG adds another layer to this shift. Ratcliffe and his INEOS crew taking the sporting reins signals a different kind of power play. If the Glazers are hated for treating the club like their personal cash machine and not properly handling the debt Malcolm laid on in 2005, it's United's sporting letdowns that really stain their legacy. Spending £1.5 billion on players since Sir Alex Ferguson's exit might be the Glazers' defence, but the undeniable truth is that the club is suffering from a lack of clear direction and expertise under their watch. Ratcliffe is a savvy business person and entrepreneur, but conquering football management is a whole different game. He can't go it alone. While he's full of ambition and enthusiasm, he needs a solid team in the hierarchy. MU fans especially are demanding with sky-high expectations, fueled by the monumental success of Alex Ferguson, both a blessing and a curse. The EPL is super competitive nowadays, and aside from money, having the right manager and backroom staff is crucial. Fans dream of snagging their desired players, but the real question is whether those players are even available in the market. MU's Champions League qualification for the next season hangs in the balance, and if they miss out, attracting top-notch talent becomes tricky. Rebuilding takes time, and rushing it can end up like the current struggles Chelsea's owners are facing. A well-structured approach, guided by the right people, is essential. Team morale is another hurdle, with rumours swirling about the potential dismissal of Casemiro and Varane, who collectively cost £112 million. It's a challenge, especially since these players have national commitments and might not align with the new owner's vision. MU is in for a rollercoaster of turmoil and drastic changes before they can rise again. If Ratcliffe gets his preferred manager, they'll face a culture shock in dealing with MU's current uncertain predicament. Despite Ratcliffe being British, managing a club with such rich history takes time, unless you're ready to splash cash like Manchester City and be in it for the long haul. Expecting quick success within 3 years is unlikely. Gradual, well-thought-out changes, even if fans disagree, are necessary, along with clear policies, expectations, and realistic goals. Patience is key. Several thorny issues need the board's attention, especially deciding whether to stick with the past or forge a new path. The glory days of Ferguson can't be replicated. Let's be real. Lastly, MU needs a solid PR team. Recent negative publicity like the rift between the manager and players, Sancho versus Ten Hag, is causing discord, affecting teamwork and morale. An English-speaking manager could ease tensions, given the sometimes brutal nature of the English media.